Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
Welcome in, Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League fans. Welcome in to another edition of pay-per-view mmjhl game day content for these mmjhl playoffs between the home side and the St. Vital Junior Victorias taking on the visitors for tonight's action, the 5th-seeded St. Boniface Riels. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator, Graham the G-Show Forsyth. We're brought to you by Terrico Goaltenders, McCann Fasteners and Tools, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. In the postseason, our first elimination game of this Elite Eight series tonight between the 4th-seeded St. Boniface Riels and the 5th-seeded Vics. Riels could punch their ticket to the Final Four round with a win tonight, where they'd, of course, be awaiting the winner of the other series to see who they'd face off against in the next round, as this is what's coming up in the next few days in the mmjhl playoffs. Only one game tonight, which you are viewing here on G-Show Productions U-Screen channel. Our camera operator hasn't shown up yet, so that makes me a bit nervous, but as for Sunday, all teams will be in action, maybe, depending on if Fort Garry and St. Boniface end up finishing things off in game number 4, which St. Boniface has a chance to do so tonight. We're waiting for the Riels to make their way out onto the ice. St. Vital has already made their way out. We'll get into the keys to the game quickly here. As an elimination game tonight, it's all about elimination. In this one, how will these teams deal with the pressure, both for the Riels as well as for the St. Vital Junior Victorias, as the Riels, they keep rolling. 7 unanswered goals last game, but they're now into the hardest game to win. And flashback to last year, they were up 3-0 in their Elite 8 series against the 6th-seeded Fort Garry Twins, which Fort Garry won the last 2 games. Not much to change, though, from the Riels tonight, as we're going to get into national anthems right away. So our camera operator is in the building now, thank goodness. Enjoy the game, everybody. St. Vital and St. Boniface coming up next. First, the national anthems. It's do or die here tonight for the St. Vital Junior Victorias on home ice. One could argue that if they end up losing this game, that their game one collapse could be a big reason why. Since then, the Riels have put up, well, let's do the math here, about 18 goals in 3 games since going down 4-0 in game number 1 to start off this series. Of course, coming back to win in overtime, 5 unanswered in game number 1, 7 unanswered in game number 3, as the Junior Victorias look to weather that storm tonight at any point as we are officially underway here. Thank you for tuning in, MMJHL fans, and for paying the $5 admission fee to watch this one on your home for MMJHL hockey on G-Show Productions on mmjhl.ca. 50% of all profits spent on tonight's game from you go to the MMJHL. So back to the league. The league benefits. We benefit by getting 50% of the cuts as well, and you benefit by getting to take in some high-end junior hockey action here. As for St. Vital heading into this season, they had a lot of hopes of going far come playoff time. Now, that in danger of slipping away from them as they're down 3-0 in this series. Lambert, his shot blocked on the way through as we're on the Riels end this time around tonight, as the other end when I got here to set up, packed with, I believe it was like under 10 hockey, maybe playoffs. Haven't seen it that packed for a game like that before, as all the crowd size is getting bigger and bigger here as all leagues in the province continue to play away in the playoffs, start up their playoffs. Best time of the year if you're a player playing in a series like this too, as Tyler Rubini unable to receive that pass. It's down for an icing here early on as the starting goaltenders tonight, number 29 for the St. Vital Junior Victorias in Ethan Penner. Number 33 gets the start again, and Owen Larocque for the St. Boniface Riels. Your starting goaltenders, brought to you by Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Sure to check out their website at gordytomlinsongoalies.ca for more details and information. This held in at the line by Dubois, sent in for Crossland, as Crossland given chase. Goretzky able to just get this out as it hops over the stick of Rubini, back down into the Victoria zone now, as it's on to Brady Jaquette's stick. 03-born player plays it across to Goretzky, now up to the captain in Rubini, a bit behind for Netchwaduk, but a nice attempt. Try to receive that as he tried to kick it back to himself. Edwards plays this back to Baker, now up off of the stick of Philippe, who he's into the lineup tonight. Of course, as mentioned in the pregame, Noah Anderson's in this game. Nolan and Aiden out for this one. So taking away some talent from that forward group. And the most unfortunate time for this Vicks team, down 3-0. They'd preferably like to be at full strength at this time of the year. I think any team would be, with all their pieces in the lineup, as Baron Baker going to work behind the net, able to get this free to Kirkness. His pass up the middle, tipped in by Lee. Blake Lee, that is covered up by Owen Larocque. As we got into the Riels keys to the game to start this off in the pregame show. Now for the Victorias. Is this it for them? You need to find another gear in this game. Doing so while shorthanded, not having all your best players in the lineup. And for St. Vital, they've shown some strengths in this series, like being able to get off to big leads in Game 1, as well as in Game number 3. They got off to a 2-0 lead early in the first 10 minutes of that first period. But it's about maintaining and holding the lead for them, which they haven't been able to do yet in this series. It's been a lot of goals unanswered against them when they have grabbed a few goals up on the scoreboard. As Dario Macchio will play this back to Carter Wilson, who is back in the lineup tonight, as Dayton Kiesman will look to just skate this up and take it himself. Kiesman up that left side, dangles as his pass can't get through, as it's out to the slot up to Dylan Jaquette, who he's back in the lineup tonight, to his brother, and Brady as that shot tipped wide off of the skate of Dario Macchia. So it's into the corner. Turned over again into the slot. Jaquette working his way up from his deep position. Takes that away into the slot for Imbrovno, but that unable to be let go by number 8. A bit off the mark as this all the way down to the Vic zone for an icing. So far so good for the Vics. Good pressure. Limiting St. Boniface in their chances too, it seems like. As for St. Boniface, we spoke about the inactives for St. Vital. Well, a few inactives tonight for St. Boniface is McNaughton, one of the most notable ones. He's out of the lineup. Shea Wojtowicz continues to be out of the lineup too. He was out before the playoffs as Reeve Sukut takes this away. It goes across to Connor Davis. His shot turned aside by Penner. Davis down low to Cockrell. To number 12 in Sukut. Sukut ended up losing that puck. Now to the line, batted out by Rubini, but taken away again by this Riels squad. Cockerell now. He'll dish this off to Sukut. His shot turned aside by Penner, fighting that one off. The Victoria's goaltender. So we bring Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia onto the screen. Our first period sponsor specifically, your one-stop shop for your sports cards, the premier sports cards and memorabilia store in the city of Winnipeg, located at 995 Miltsteagall Drive. Be sure to check them out today. Or also check out their website at cancentralsportscards.com as the Riels controlling this behind the net. Trying to spin away from the check-in, but unable to was Brzezinski. Got to give a shout-out to Big 8-9 as he asked for one before the game. He's been incredible to start off these playoffs. Most points out of any player so far with 11. Had 5 assists in that Game 3 victory. A hat trick in Game 2 here in St. Vital. Does he have more magic here as that pass from behind the net turned aside? Penner on Van Dynes. As Hepner will play this across to Cole Davis. He had 2 goals in game number 3 as he sends that in opposite corner. As just noticed, no commentating. Apologies, everybody. So I don't know how long the sound was out for, but we're back now. This first period brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. As it's sent back for Bachneck. Bachneck now. He'll look to work this up. He does as this goes into the bench, redirected into the St. Vital end of things, into their bench. So with 13:45 remaining here, it'll be 1 and play D-to-D from this Riels squad. As the Victorias look to send this one out. They do off the boards. Nicholas Miller gets this. Shout out to his grandpa. Family member watching down from Phoenix, at least. I believe it was his grandpa. His dad told me one of his relatives watching this game all the way from Arizona. We appreciate the support. As we're all the way down here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And happy to offer a solution for folks to be able to watch this game no matter where they may be in the world, whether that's Canada, the U.S., maybe even in Europe. Maybe not in Europe, as we haven't stretched that far yet, but this stretched up to Philippine, the Vic's end is Philippe able to send this to the line into the skates of Rubini, delayed offside. The Riels end up turning this over. Back to Kalen Reyes. Ends up going to Hepner as Hepner, his pass up and fed in onto the stick of Davis as Cole Davis shut down. And turned aside by Ethan Penner, and with 12:22 remaining on this MMJHL playoff game day live stream on Uscreen, gshowproductions.uscreen.io, as Netroduc trouble getting past the blue line there. Just sends it in deep into the Riels end as they're forced to go. D.D. Reyes off the glass, just out of the reach for Van Dynes. Is that bit of an unlucky bounce over the stick of number 94. That pass across Netroduc, defended well by the Riels. Now that hops over the stick of Baron Baker onto Van Dynes' stick. The Riels heading the other way. That's sent behind the net. Trying to locate Kalen Reyes in front was Van Dynes. With that pass, as Connor Mitchell gets ridden out into the boards hard by Brzezinski. No call coming up here as Mitchell getting a taste of some of his own medicine from what he's done to opposing teams' players in the regular season. Rubini there to retaliate, defend his teammate with a hit. Lining up, Brzezinski is Rubini. That out of his reach. Keaton will be the first one on it. Rubini on him hard in the corner. All Keaton could do was dish that off to Bachnet as his pass misses up to Dubois at that right winger side as that shot on net turned aside by Larocque. With 11:01 remaining, fourth line out for this victorious team, and Brogno Spence, as well as Dylan Jaquette, won by Dubois for the Riels as this flipped out high stick by Jaquette and tapped up by Brogno. So face-off should be outside the Riel zone. We'll just got to decide where it'll be, and it's right there, just outside of the Riel's end, close to their bench, as this saucered up to Johnson as he's able to chip that off the boards, but sent in deep by this victorious team. As for the Riels, this gets glove down on the attempt to break this out. Noah Keating now putting on a show behind his own goal line as he was stick handling in a phone booth basically to get away. As this cut off a long wall by Dylan Jaquette sends this right back in deep into the Riel's end. As Noah Keating, first one on it. Keating off the back of the net and to himself in the corner. Takes a bump before going up to Johnson, but this held in at the point. Rebound there, scores! The Victorias start off with the lead once again, this time on home ice. In a must-win game, it's Alessandro Brogno, the 0-3 board forward, looking to leave his mark, and he does here in this first. 1-0 Vicks. Picking up the trash out in front. A deflection on net that Larocque can't handle cleanly on the rebound. Left it there from Brogno, who crashes hard. That goal brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Alessandro Brogno makes his mark in this game 4. As Vicks need his offensive production more than ever. That goal brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. How does Cockrell and this Riels line respond now? Right into the breadbasket. The chest protector of Ethan Penner, as number 29 holds to get a stop and play here. Face-off draw coming up inside the St. Vital end. This is all about how do you hold this lead now for the Vicks, and how do you potentially extend it. Cockrell, he dances into the high slot, backhand turned aside by Penner. It's all the way back down into the Vic zone. Blake Goretzky, as the Riels go off for a change. He waits and takes his time and finally dishes it out to the goal scorer, and Imbrodno sends that in deep, out to cut it off behind his own net. Owen Larocque, as this ends up a penalty, I believe. Or not, I believe the puck just goes out of play. Thought that the ref was given a charging signal. But we're mistaken here as we continue on. 9:09 remaining as the Riels won that face-off draw, and that shot tipped by Spence, but just wide of the net it went for number 19. Brzezinski now dangling in. He's denied by Penner. What a move by number 89, who's been an absolute monster in these playoffs so far in this series with 11 points coming in. 5 apples last game, which are assists. That almost trouble for the Riels is almost a fortunate bounce off the backboards for the Vics. Michael Spence right in the action with 8:41 remaining. The Victorias so this was called an icing. So all the way back down to the Vic zone, this face-off draw is going to come. This is packed here at the Centennial tonight. You absolutely love to see it. The crowd size has got bigger and bigger as the regular season went on, and so far, apparently someone who works for the mmjhl was talking to someone that also announces in the Is that whack from Penner into the shin pads. Number 12 in Sukit. Penner, one of the more active goaltenders in that regard in terms of not being afraid to throw shots back at players who end up touching number 29 after the whistle's already gone, trying to jam away at those rebounds. But apparently a source who works in the mmjhl said since moving back to Manitoba, it's been the most packed he's seen a barn. Last night at East End, as we were there to call Transcona, the Railer Express taking on the defending champs in the St. James Junior Canucks in their Elite 8 series. St. James, 2 wins in a row now in that series, as they're now up 2-1, looking to put the Railers on the ropes with a Game 4 win tomorrow to go up 3-1 at Abe McDonald. Of course, could be the final game of this series between these two teams right now. Our score holds up with a Vic's lead until the end of the game. They'd be moving on, but there's a lot of action left to be played, and if there's any lesson in this series is that the start really doesn't matter. It's about how you finish and progress throughout the game. The Riels have just simply been better in that respect as the series has gone along, as they hunt this puck down in the offensive zone. Out of the zone, Reyes now pinned up along the boards by Mitchell. This sent for Ruben. He has Netraduke heading to the net, trying to break away from Dubois as Ruben's attempt to get that over to Netraduke into a stick and out of play. But an offensive zone face-off draw coming up for the Victorias. So they get a fresh set of legs out onto the ice. Lucas Gilson in the lineup tonight can be a real difference maker for this Victoria squad. He lines up against Dubois to take the draw. Brzezinski. Is Brzezinski able to win it? This gets rimmed around in the Riels end. Held in, though, at the point by Goretzky. That shot turned aside by Larocque. Rebound left, though, for Elliott from long range, which he's denied on as Jaquette plays this to Goretzky. Quick cross-ice pass over to Elliott as line unable to be held there by Gilson. Step 2 ahead of the puck. 7:16 remaining. But no, I think last game could potentially have been maybe a different outcome if the Vics are able to hold the lead going into what would have been the second period, but they let up 2 goals in the final half of that period. Davis now breaking his way in, but nice defense from the Vic defenseman to stretch out. That was Jaquette. That shot just wide of the net. The Vic zone as the pressure starts here for the Riels. They try to start it at least as it's cycled up. That shot from Bonin turned aside as Bonin holds the line able to feed this over to Connor Davis to the slot. That misses, but held in at the point by Lambert. Lambert puts on the moves, freezes Elliott to the slot. That backhand denied, blocked up. As Connor Davis was right there. Davis gets it back to Lambert, but that one-timer feed off the mark for number 2, not in his wheelhouse. Takes a bump, sends this down low. Brzezinski over to Suket. That unable to go. Rather, it was Cockerell who made the pass. Jaquette dumps it in just before the blue line. Circles back for a change with 6:16 remaining. This first period action now. This cross ice feed from Philippe. Denied at first, but taken away and taken up now by Edwards down that left side. Takes a bump from Zachary Domenico as it rims around Kirkness. Look out. Reverse hit from Lambert. Knocks him to the ice. It's an offside for the Riels. A bit too hungry to score the first goal, it seems. Eric Johnson. He was the man who went offside. 5:53. Remaining now on the clock. This draw won by the Victorias as now they play D-to-D. This is Philippe up the boards. It was number 18 in Blakely to Edwards. Edwards sends this in deep. As Larocque played it to Bachnet, who played it D-to-D to Keating. Keating surveys his options. Trips on the puck, though, as Keating lost a handle on a good support from Eric Johnson. Is Johnson able to get this in deep for this Riel squad. The Victorias turn this up and turn it over in neutral ice. This is played back into the Riel's end. D-to-D to Noah Keating. That up to Van Dynes. Tipped in as Kiesman up to Rubini. Down deep for this Victoria squad now is Bachnet. Feeds a pass to Cole Davis. Gets it right back to number 77 with a head of steam. Building into the Victoria zone. That pass into the slot denied by Kiesman ends up into Penner's crease. So with that, shout out to Scott Stroh from Icewave Media, by the way. He's the man taking pictures right now just beside the Victoria's bench. You'll see some of his work throughout this matchup. As we've shown already, as Brzezinski takes it away. Reyes over to Brzezinski. Now D-to-D. This goes to Hepner. Fends off the check-in of Rubini. Hepner continues to shield it. Gets it over to Brzezinski again. Down low to Cole Davis as Davis circles up. Back up to Hepner. Through a screen, but not through. So that's blocked. And into the opposite corner. As Hepner gets it back into the skates of Brzezinski. Battles to keep this alive in the Victoria zone as Brzezinski draws a penalty in the process as well. 2 minutes coming up. Davis Koga not too pleased with that call. Just heard an F-bomb from him. And you know what? Honestly, I kind of get it. I mean, it was a slash, but not the most egregious slash we've ever seen. There's been points where we've seen refs let things go similar to that in these playoffs already, but not that time, as it's the Riels on the power play for the first time tonight. Brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. That pass off the mark for Connor Davis, but ends up getting it right back. Turned it over in the big zone as that cut off along the board. Sent in deep as Larocque out to leave it for Hepner. By the way, Larocque and Hepner teammates last year, as Larocque was a part of the Pembina Valley Twisters, which had the best goaltending tandem in the league. What St. Boniface has built, you can argue that they got the best goaltending tandem in the league this season now. Maybe even trio, as they still got O'Sullivan and Alex Domenico in the pipes. His backup. But it's been Larocque's net, and he's run with it here in this first round so far since coming in relief for O'Sullivan in game number 1. Larocque out of his own net. Play this again with 3:22 remaining in this period. Connor Davis drops this back for Bachnet. Goes to Cockerell, dishes this out to Suket. Suket, just before the blue line, sends this in deep as the Riels try to get something going on the minute. That is done! Lucky bounce for the Victorias there, turned over And it's the Riels who even up this game on the power play. It's Cole Davis who pounces on a misplay. Bad bounce in the big zone, and the Riels make them pay for it. We're all square at one apiece now. That goal on the power play for the Riels brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. 3:05 left in this first period of action. We talked about it, the Vicks with trouble holding a lead. Doesn't really matter how at this point. You're in desperate need of staying alive and moving on. Things like that just can happen and don't bode well for you, or bode well for you as I should say. If the Riels can especially continue to get more dominant on the forecheck as this game goes along, they certainly have here in this first period so far. That strong forecheck is what drew the slash and penalty as, oh, what a move by Cole Davis, looking for another goal already, loses this down low. That goal brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. It's on to Sukit's stick. He pivots, fires down low. That pass. He's swallowed up by Riel. As this now towards the net, but turned aside by Victoria's defenseman as Imbrogno, the one Victoria with the goal in this game so far. The lone goal, his long shot ends up being kicked out by Larocque. Good forecheck down low. Spence recovers this loose puck into the slot for Netraduke as the stick goes flying. I believe that's the stick of Cole Davis. Look out, might want to keep that one, as I'd say that he's probably played with that stick in game 3 as well. Rubini takes a puck into his leg a bit awkwardly as he hobbles off to the ice, but yeah, Cole Davis' stick went flying there off of a block. Maybe he just got his stick lifted. I'm really not sure how it got that much air on it. It ended up on net itself. Better than the Victoria's shot. Quote Happy Gilmore, the club went farther than the ball, or further than the ball, and of course the stick there going further than the puck towards the net. As another power play coming up here for this Riel squad. Not what this Vicks team wants at all. Already struggled on the PK in the regular season. Of course, the Riels have been able to capitalize on the power play at points so far this series. Another power play coming up, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. It'll be won by this Riel squad. Up to Hepner, kicks this out to Connor Davis. As Davis down low to Brzezinski. He wheels up, back down low to Davis. Stick handling in tight as Davis finds Hepner wide open at the point again. Right back to Davis as both of them play give and go with each other. As it ends up to Avon Cockrell. Back up top to Hepner. Hepner to Davis as he locates his captain. Now to the rookie and Cockrell. His shot blocked up. Huge one there by Gilson. As Gilson stays in the lane, not being fooled by the head fakes put on by Cockrell. Back over to Davis. His shot turned aside by Penner, battling away to keep that out. We're coming up on the final minute of play in this period of regulation. Still a minute 24 remaining on the Riel's power play as Hepner spins away from pressure, gets it up to Cockrell. Cockrell now slithers his way through. That shot blocked up by Luke Elliott as number 12 with a huge block with 48 seconds or so left. It's sent down the ice. Bachneck recovers that puck, left by Larocque. As Bachneck takes a bit of a two-hander from Netraduke. It's looking a bit awkward afterwards. Looked like that might have stung from number 11. No call came on the play. Netraduke plants himself right in the Riel zone, looking to defend this. Rush up the ice from Bachneck, but Bachneck makes his way past two Vicks now. That shot from Crossland denied in the slot. A blast from Lambert at the slot, high of the net. Wide of it, with under 10 seconds left, the Riel still hold it in, though. That shot turned aside by Penner. And with that, Penner takes a shot to Sukit in the head, or gave him a shot, rather, in the head. Got that glove right in number 12's noggin and a face mask. Could that mean the Riels are getting to this Vic's goaltender? Well, he likes to be rough with every team that ends up getting into his grill. As mentioned, Sukit is going to end up going off here into the penalty box with 5.2 seconds remaining in this period. We'll see, will Ethan Penner also be getting a penalty coming up? Of course, someone's going to have to serve it for him in the box. It's coming up. We're going to load up more and more highlights as this postseason goes along. We're going to have a new set for you tomorrow, but we're going to show you what we thought was the game of the year again. Pretty entertaining for those of you that haven't seen it yet either. We played it on our network earlier this year, of course, as all of our mmjhl game day regular season live streams are available on G Show Productions on YouTube. But yeah, we'll show you Twins versus Hawks coming up. That could potentially be a finals matchup too in this year's mmjhl playoffs, and would not disappoint if that ends up being the case, as that draw won by the Riels, cleared out by the Vics. They'll have 27 seconds of penalty time left, as Penner continuing to have some words for the Riels as he goes over to his bench. Both teams have been chirpy all series long. Heard that it was pretty physical to start off the series. By the way, they just put a penalty up on the board for the Vics, so I guess we're at 4-on-4, or rather for the Riels. So we'll have 27 seconds of 4-on-4 time coming up. We're going to get you right to highlights here. The goal scores in this period brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. So we pull up the mmjhl's website. It was Alessandro Imbrogno to open up the scoring, assisted by Michael Spence and Dario Macchia. But then Cole Davis, he's been hot as of late. 2 goals in game number 3 to tie things up in that matchup against the Vics, and tied things up again on the power play, his 4th of the postseason. Unanswered, 16:55 into the frame. Only penalties were taken by the Victorias, Penner and Larocque in the net tonight. We'll have the shots from this period coming up during the first intermission. Going into the second period. This first period was brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store, located at 995 Miltstegel Drive. Their only store location here in the city of Winnipeg. Be sure to also check out their website for more information on them at cancentralsportscards.com. Vics Riels tied up 1 apiece in Game 4 of this elimination game Thursday night at the Centennial. Great to be back. mmjhl Game Day broadcast, this pre-recorded version of this game between the Fort Garry Twins and the Charleswood Hawks, especially on that counterattack. As soon as they take it away, they were trying to get right back into the Hawk zone moments ago to attack. Ended up being an offside called on the play, of course. The Twins pick it up again. Here's Nick Gilberto off the post, and it's in! Hit the inside of the bar, and with that, number 18 strikes first here tonight for the Twins to give them an early 1-goal lead. But you get 2 players that were leaders on the River East Royal Knights. They come over to this Charleswood Hawks team now. The hopes for this team, obviously, going all in to get to a championship. Into the slot, Reynolds scores! And in his first game as a Charleswood Hawk, the new number for Mr. Reynolds, number 20. It's sent all the way down into the Twin zone again, and on it, number 15 in Bazin Eros, or Eros. Bazin in front, turned aside. That short pass, he received it, but better to make the save was Pauls. Not that time, as the Hawks go up 2-1. Into Fort Garry's end as Pauls leaves that for a teammate. The Twins skate this out. Gorchinski feeds it to the middle to Bolshaw. Passed across to Helamandaris, who turned aside there by Gordon. Helamandaris gets it back though. Cross ice feed to Gorchinski. Rip scores! The Charleswood crowd a bit furious about that one. As usually you see that get called. Neufeld gets taken out hard to the ice. Reverse picks the puck up, handcuffing Pauls a bit, but Pauls able to come away with that save. Now Neufeld gets lit up in the neutral zone, but a 2-on-1 headed the other way as that shot turned aside by Gordon. First forechecker in, waited a bit, allowed for the Twins to send a breakout pass out, but into the stick of Matani, a bit of trouble handling it, forces a turnover onto the stick of number 22, and Jacob feeds it, backdoor scores! It's a 3-2 lead for the home side, the Hawks, courtesy of Morrison. It's Vic Fussing weaving in, his shot blocked and sent wide of the net. Is this picked up again by Cole Penner? That shot through, scores! As for the teams in action tonight, the St. Boniface Riels right now leading 4-1 against the St. James Junior Canucks. In this game, Hellmander's under the bar, scores a beauty! Lavina able to maneuver his way through into the Twins' end. Spins around, fires down low, trying to locate Elliott Lewis. That just out of 19's reach. Takes a bit of a high stick afterwards. No call on the play as Van Alstyne gets it back. Number 14, Vic Fussen into the slot, scores! Gorchinski not out there right now. Right now it's Matani along with Hedlund at the points, Medwick, Gilberto, I believe, as well as Lozano scores! As won by the Twins to the point. Hedlund gets taken out, or Livingstone, that is. Huge hit. Number 22 in Jacob. That short shot turned aside by Gordon again, and Medwick got lit up too there. Puck sent back in to the Hawks end. As skating with it's Stevenson before whipping this down the right wall, cut off by Eric Johnson as Johnson makes his way down low, tries to backhand that pass behind the back out in front, but couldn't get it there. Hellman tries to take it away. He now gets a quick little pass over to Belshaw, scores! Glavina loses his balance and ends up not cradling that puck. Turnover forced, and there's a wraparound goal! The Twins, 3 unanswered, to now lead this one 6-5. 13:28 remaining. This held at the line again by this Fort Garry Twins squad, as they really are getting their cycle game going right now. As that turned over, Balshaw able to, off the post that goes, almost a second. I believe number 29, Caligari, was turned away by Gordon on that shot. Now played up onto the stick, Carlson to the slot, Sperber scores! But the Hawks able to get it right back in again, looking to get in on the attack. But this stripped away by the Twins. Huge hit late on there by Matani. A tie hockey game at 6-6. Who's going to play hero tonight? Here late in this one. Oh, Elliott Lewis. What a move. Another beauty by Lewis. Backdoor feet. Oh, what a save by Pauls to keep it out. Back into the middle as Johnson has that taken away into the skates of a Hawks player. Glavina now skating up the other way. Has Carlson heading towards the net. Nice job to evade that check-in. Gets it over to Reynolds, and Reynolds denied by Alex Pauls. Coming up on a minute left to play here in this overtime period. Gorchinski wheeling in, protects on the forehand, trying to keep protecting this, but can't. It's onto the stick of Sperber. Has White with him, drops it back to White, stays on this! Over onto the stick of David Balshaw, trying to maneuver his way to net, but ridden out along the boards. Huge defensive play there. 0-0 right now in the shootout. 6-6 in this game here tonight.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back in, Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League fans, into mmjhl playoff game day. This game, a pay-per-view live stream, will be available to rent afterwards, as we've been doing in these playoffs so far. As it's the St. Boniface Riels who lead this series 3-0. They tied up this game about 16:55 into it on the power play in that first period. Brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Cole Davis, his fourth of the postseason, had 2 goals last game as he stays hot for this St. Boniface Riels team. A bit of a funny bounce, ended up right on the stick of Cole Davis, and Penner really had no chance on it because it was a quick shot and Penner was out of position. Ethan Penner getting the start tonight for the St. Vital Junior Victoria squad. On the Rockin' net as well. The goal scored to open up the scoring, though. Alessandro Ambrogno, potentially in his final game ever as a Victoria, leaving his mark with his first of the postseason, putting home the rebound off a deflection from Michael Spence. Dario Macchio also getting the assist. Shots 15-7 in favor of the Riels through that first period of action. The game started off very much like game number 3, to be honest with you, where the Victorias had all the pressure early, but as the period went along, the Riels started to build up more pressure, started to build up that strong cycle game of theirs. You could argue that they have one of the best, if not the best, cycle game in the league. And now for the Victorias, it's about how do you respond? You need a big response here. Potentially 40 minutes left in your 2024-2025 season, in a year where this team before it was all in, were quiet at the trade deadline. Not compared to this Riels team, who they were active last year at the trade deadline, made some big impactful moves that helped them get past the first round. And made some impactful moves again at the deadline, bringing in guys like Van Dynes, Hepner, Owen LaRock in the crease, and they're hoping that these moves this year can push them further than the Final Four. But as for this Elite 8 series, we're not quite done yet. Could the Victorias force a game number 5, which would be played on Sunday at Southdale? They're going to start off, well, shorthanded still, I guess, as there was a bunch of mayhem that transpired as that period went along, and at the end of it, but it's the Vics who start shorthanded. Looking to get something going here in this second period of action again as they start off with the lead. They're looking to regain it again. First, you got to kill off these 27 seconds as this sent all the way in to the Riels zone. Strong dump by this St. Vital team to start things off as this played towards the boards, turned over in the Riels end. As we are back to even strength. This period, by the way, brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years in the agricultural industry. Connor Davis up with some speed. That shot towards the net. Penner couldn't hold on to it well enough at first, but he does at the end to get a stoppage. As with that stop by the Vics goaltenders is also this second period sponsor, along with Terrico, your goalie's personal video review service. It's an offensive zone face-off draw for this Riels team. Carson Dubois to take it against number 26 and Lucas Gilson, as Dubois ends up losing this to Gilson. Gilson fending off well off the draw, as well as the Vicks try to get their transition game going, but that pass off the mark to Machia all the way down for what looks to be an icing. It will be called an icing. So we'll get an offensive zone face-off draw coming up for the Victorias. Luke Elliott right now getting a change of sticks, hoping that this new weapon of his ends up bringing him some success in these upcoming moments as the Vicks try to win the draw, but won by the St. Boniface Riels squad as it's played to Miguel Bonin. Bonin, AP defenseman, tries to flip this up. A glove down by Wilson, but called offside as Luke Elliott thought the play was still going on. Same with Bonin. Line change coming up for the Victorias. Getting their top line out. They put Connor Mitchell onto that top line to take the draw here coming up against number 22 and Eric Johnson. Won by Mitchell and all the way back down into his own end. Kiesman first went on it. Protects around the net and takes it around the net as Rubini was taken out there awkwardly. It's for the blue line. Now Netraduker, sorry, Mitchell taken out with a bit of a slew foot. Like that anyways. No, not a slew foot exactly. Just dragged down really awkwardly by number 55 in Crossland. With that, it sends the Victorias onto what'll be their first power play of this contest officially. Put Terrico back onto the screen for the Vicks so far. It's been power play for them that hasn't seen the most success. 12.5 so far in their first 3 games. Looking to change that here. Gilson looking to shoot through his screen, but instead ends up hitting a player towards the net and out of play it went. Apologies if you hear sniffles, everybody, throughout this broadcast. We're not crying. It's just me with terribly stuffed up nose right now. We'll see if this Riels team can continue to stuff the Vicks well in their own end, as they've been very strong on the penalty kill so far in this Elite 8 round through the first 3 games. The Vicks, though, not going away without a fight. Hard on the forecheck is Netraduke. Now Goretzky down low to help. Gets this up to Dario Machia at the point. Machia back to his defenseman and Goretzky. Machio on it again. Has that stripped away now by Nathan Brzezinski. As Brzezinski looks to go off to the races. No, pulls back instead. Goes off for a change. As Gilson out there with Edwards, Rubini, Goretzky, as well as Machia. As Rubini, the captain, makes his way in, dishes it off to Goretzky, back down low to Rubini now, onto the stick of Edwards as he receives that pass well along the boards. Down low, Machia had that sticked away as it's poked up the left side. The Vicks still holding the line as Edwards, a nice job to take that away with the backhand, but Bachner sends a pass out with the backhand into the direction of Johnson, just out of his reach, but so far so good for this Riels penalty kill. 20 seconds remain on it. Oh no, a fan by Kiesman, who takes a crucial penalty that he needed to take, a good penalty as we like to call it. So we could have been very well seen Johnson put that past Penner for what would have been a shorthanded goal. So with that, we'll go to 4-on-4 for the next 10 seconds. And really unfortunate break for Kiesman, who had no choice to take that penalty, right? He's trying to defend as best as he can. He fans on a pass, which I believe that gets stuck. A bit of sticky ice as we're still early in this period. Just the Vicks with a defensive zone face-off draw win, unable to get it out. 4 seconds now left of 4-on-4 time. Now we're on to a 5-on-4 for this Riels squad. Goaltenders onto the screen for a victorious penalty kill for the next minute and 40 seconds. The Riels, unlike the Vicks, have been strong on the power play so far. They're only goal in this game so far. Rebound there, turned aside by Penner. As I was trying to say, their only goal of the game so far in that first, scored on the power play by Cole Davis. Connor Davis to the slot. Brzezinski, that shot blocked. Good thing, too. Penner way out of position as he gets back into his crease now. Now down low, Brzezinski in front. Unable to put it home, fend on it, but it's controlled up top by the Riels again. To Avon Cockrell. Up to Hepner, across to Connor Davis. That shot just catching a piece of Penner's arm. It goes out of play. It's number 29 fends that off. Penner, no matter what, probably going to play in every game for the remainder of the series, or for however long St. Vital stays in it. As Mason Tebec out for the remainder of this series. Most likely playoffs with a broken collarbone in that Game 1 loss. As this sent out by the Victorias. Larocque, the goaltender for the Riels, out to leave this for Bachneck coming out of his own crease to stop that puck up. Bachneck now surveying options. Dishes this out to Crossland, over to Sukit as Sukit looks to rim this around hard, connects on to Cole Davis's stick. Already with the goal in this game, already on the power play. 28 seconds remain now. Bachneck over to Crossland. Crossland back up top to Bachneck. That shot through, rebound there, but turned aside by Penner right away. Face-off draw will be coming up to the Block-Ran side for number 29. 15:04 remaining. In this second frame, 20 seconds remaining on the Riels power play as they get possession of this off the draw. Fighting for that puck, it's up to Lambert. To Bachneck, down low to Crossland. His shot towards the net off! Finally, as I thought it was off the first time, it took him Brogno to dive into it to knock it off completely. As we roll on here, 7 seconds remaining on the Riels power play. As Imbrogno kicked out of the face-off circle. Goretzky in to take it now. Wins it against Dubois. Huge win by number 3 as we look to get back to even strength we are, but line held by Miller. His shot turned aside by Penner. As hit along the boards on Bertschinger by Goretzky. By the way, the inactives for the Riels tonight, no Melstead, no McNaughton, but still, Bertschinger almost connects with Connor Davis in front, but misses his stick. As Goretzky feeds this up to Jaquette. It was Brady, fed it over to Michael Spence, who sends this in deep. Now on it, Kalen Reyes has that knocked off his stick. Michael Spence now pinned up along the boards, trying to spin away. Spence continuing to hold strong, holds onto this puck. It's on the string. His shot from high up in the zone turned aside and out of play. Off of deflection. He got a nice deflection to set up that first goal of the game from Alessandro Imbrogno. The Vics look to regain the lead once again here, tied 1-1. They were leading this 1-1 once upon a time. So it'll be the Vics top line back out, and Netchwood Duke and Rubini shot unloaded on but blocked up there well. Number 94 and Van Dynes. Kiesman now plays this down low, and Netchwood Duke has that sticked away, but knocked onto the stick of Rubini. Feeds this up to Carter Wilson. Cross-ice feed to Kiesman, who can't quite get that shot through. Another attempt from Kiesman, this time able to sustain a body check along the boards and makes his way down towards the net. Tried to angle through, but shut down the last moment by the Riels defense. Mitchell has this sticked away by Van Dynes. Now into the feed of Wilson, but plays that up quickly onto Rubini's stick. Trying to chip and go, but Rubini shut down. This taken away by Cole Davis. Has Brzezinski heading to the net. Oh, sweet feed! Oh, and a save by Penner! But second chance, Brzezinski scores! Penner needed some help there from his defenseman and didn't get it as he makes an unbelievable first save to stretch out that right pad to deny Brzezinski. What a feed by Cole Davis to thread that through towards the net as Brzezinski was in behind the Vicks D. But the puck had to be cleared out. Follow up on the rebound by the Riels. Able to put it in over the outstretched pad of Penner. As Brzezinski followed up on his own rebound. And number 89 stays hot here. His 12th point of the playoffs. The 6th goal of the playoffs. That goal brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years. So, do the Vicks have any type of response left in them here with 12:52 remaining in this second period of action? Still a long game going on, but you got to weather this storm coming up as the Riels are coming over to Bonin, across to Connor Davis. That long shot off of a foot in front, rebound there, but cleared away. Now one-timer feed fanned on by Lambert. The counterattack from the Riels, superb in this last minute or so. This lively puck in the house in the Vic zone, right in that slot area. As both teams getting fresh legs out onto the ice. As Lucas Gilson to take the draw, ends up winning this strongly. Exactly what the Vicks need at this point. They need to clear it out as well. They just do, but sent right back in by Connor Davis. Now cross-ice feed up to Luke Elliott. Chips looking to get back to that puck. Instead, Gilson takes a bump down low to get it back to Luke Elliott. Elliott now fends off the check and down low up to Goretzky. That shot a rocket through, but a nice stick save by LaRocque. Penalty coming up here as Gilson goes down. It'll be a tripping call. Coming up to the Riels, the Victorias go back on the power play. And if they were to get a power play goal, now is the time. I want to be able to tie this game up as quickly as possible. You can breathe a bit in this game. Be interested to see how St. Vital holds their composure throughout the rest of this one. Now down for the first time in this hockey game. It's Netraduke who wins this over to Gilson. The Vicks work it across. Terrico back on the screen. So Victoria set this up. Rubini along the right wall. He takes this down low and spins away from the check-in. Drops it back up to Gilson. Gilson drags to the middle. Fake attempt 3 times. Over to Rubini. Down low to Netraduke, but that ends up missing. Ends up out of play. This is good sticks in the lane from this Riel squad. As one thing the Vicks love to do is to try to work it quickly cross-ice like we saw there, either to Rubini or Netraduke most times. As this chipped out by captain and Connor Davis, chasing down the captain for the Vicks and Rubini. As Rubini, all he could do was just get this quickly across the safety to Netraduke as Rubini got it back. Dropped it back to Gilson as Gilson feeds it up the left side off the paddle of number 11 in Ryland. Netraduke, nice drop to chase this down, but Kalen Reyes, good job to stick with him. That pass off the mark towards the Vicks blue line as Gilson was there. Has to chase this all the way down back into his own end as Gilson, a little wave of the wand to fake out Brzezinski as he makes his way through the neutral zone, kicks it out to Rubini, and scores! Captain clutch for St. Vital goes under the roof, and he's got this game tied now. Exactly what the Victorias were looking for, exactly what they needed with 10:50 remaining in this second frame. That goal brought to you by Terrico. Victoria's in the dying seconds of that power play opportunity, able to break out with success. It's a nice job to kick it out to Rubini as Rubini builds some good speed heading into the zone and picks his spot. One of the best goal scorers in the league this year, top 5 goal scorer, making his presence felt. Welcome to Game 4 of this Elite 8 round, Mr. Rubini. It's nice to have you here. That goal brought to you by Terrico. We're at a tie game on the scoreboard now. As maybe, just maybe, like the Riels have, the Victorias can start to roll now and put up some unanswered goals for themselves. Like back in game 1 when they started off with a 4-0 lead. Riels with other ideas though as they break their way in. Noah Kading strong on this puck to fend off. Spence lands up into the slot, turned aside by Penner on Sukit. As Cockrell gets this to Sukit. Sukit back to the direction of Cockrell. Nice defensive play by Edwards to just whack that puck off of 27 stick right away. Ends up into the roof, so we get a stoppage. With 9:50 remaining in the second period of action, Eric Johnson to take this draw against Kobe Edwards. As Edwards able to win this back with success, but the Riels stay strong on the forecheck. As 3 Vics now behind their net. Gotta be careful if you lose this puck battle. Gets it to the slot, Johnson! A stick in the lane! Goes off of that and out of play. As look, that's the issue and the risk you take when you send 3 guys on 2 down low. You usually leave someone open in a high danger area of the ice, which that time Johnson open in the slot for a split second, but a nice defensive recovery by Kirkness to get a stick in the lane of that shot attempt. That all the way out, no icing called here on the play. It's waved off right away by the referees. That a heavy hit by Rubini, continuing to keep that man down on the ice in the corner. No call coming up. Oh, Mitchell finds iron! Deflected off of something on the way through. We're still tied. 2-2. 9:08 remaining in the second frame. Picked up by the Victorias. This top line looking to work some magic. Mitchell can't get that through. And Rubini now going to get nabbed for an interference call. Can't do that if you're the captain. Now Cockerell maybe trying to draw something extra from Goretzky there. Gives him a pat on the back afterwards. Riels fans howling in front of me. Roughly, I saw you love to see a bit of comedic effect throughout a hockey game. Always keep things light here in a rather intense situation. Elite 8. Game number 4, first elimination game of the mmjhl playoffs. Riels back onto the power play. The Vics looking for a huge kill against the Riels power play. That's been really good so far this postseason, as mentioned. Cockrell fakes towards the net. Now tries to tuck this in. Could have potentially wrapped it around his Penner. Way out of position. That a blast from Bucknut at the point. Deflects. Out of play as well. Over the end glass. So we take a look. You can see it there. The only banner for the St. Vital Junior Victorias team in 03-04. It's over 2 decades ago now. Of course, with championship aspirations this season. Now looking to run the table down 3-0 in this series. Got to kill off this penalty if would have their best chances. That shot, Cockrell turned aside by Penner, whacked out by this Victorias squad. Larocque out of his own net stretches this up to Davis, catching the Victorias on a bad line change, but no, an offside. Or sorry, too many men maybe coming up? So it looks like that was one of the referee's signals. No, I believe just an offside. So we bring goaltenders onto the screen for this Vic's penalty kill. 8:07 remaining in this period. Cole Davis tries to win this draw back, but nice job by Luke Elliott to stay with it. Just a few seconds. Ended up turning it over as Cole Davis ends up sending this back in deep. Crossland can't scoop up that puck down low. Able to get back on it though as Crossland loses it again along the boards, and the Vic's able to get it out because of it. This left by Larocque. for Hepner. Looking to catch this Vicks team on a bad line change again. They just might with numbers, this Riels team. That shot turned aside by Penner. And that's 2 times in a row now on this penalty kill that the Vicks just going off for a line change at the wrong time. First time they got saved by the offside, but that time around you're already shorthanded. Become even more shorthanded in that instance when you only got about 2 players back who were ready to defend. As this cleared out all the way by the Vicks again. One thing you can credit, though, as a positive has been how this penalty kill is getting stronger as this game goes along, especially in the second period. Boknek with the head of steam into the zone. Nicole Davis, he draws a penalty now heading towards the net. It'll be a 5-on-3 for the next 20 seconds. As Mitchell having some words with the linesman, I believe he's the one maybe going off for a penalty. No, it looks like it'll be Rylan Netraduk into the box. So the Vicks' top 2 players, their top 2 scorers, their most impactful players in the box right now, on a 5-on-3. Looking to break the tie here, this Riels team, with a great advantage to do so. Boknek, that pass by Sukit, off the mark. The Riels have to regroup. Watch out, Rubini. For the Riels, you gotta watch out as Rubini gonna be coming out of this box hard, most likely. Cockrell, his shot as he unloaded it, went wide of the net. Rubini goes off for a change instead. Edwards out. As we're on to 5-on-4, 1:30 remaining in power play time. Over to Cockrell. He delays his shot as he drags towards the net off the post. As the puck gets whistled dead right away. It's a bit of head contact there after Brzezinski pushing his head into the cage of Jaquettes. I don't believe there's going to be any penalties coming up as the referees just try to get both teams separated. With 1:23 of power play time to work with if you're the St. Boniface Riels. For the Vicks, looking for what could be another strong kill for them. It's behind the net. Brzezinski out in front. That pass can't make it to the slot. Held in by Davis at that left wall, at that left face-off circle. Cockrell down low now to Van Dyne. He's trying to go back door to Davis as he crept up, but not to be. They get it there to the captain for the Riels. As this puck in the corner, now loose up to Hepner, to the middle. That shot tipped wide of the net by Brzezinski. He's had the most recent goal in this game for this Riels squad. This up and over the stick of Hepner. As it ends up out of the Riels, and this tipped back, and now to Connor Davis again. Just before the blue line, gets it to Sukit. Now to Cockrell. He drags, fires, rebound there by Penner. Able to smother it with 5:42 remaining in this second period now. 31 seconds remaining in the Riels power play. The Vicks continue to hold off this Riels attack. They've been pressuring this Victoria's team well, but the Vicks have also been doing that well, getting good dump outs 200 feet down into the Riels end on this shorthanded sequence, which of course extended into a 5-on-3 about 2 minutes ago. Now Lambert, that shot through after being blocked by number 4 in Baker. 11 seconds left of power play time now for the Riels. They set up again with an offensive zone face-off draw. Cole Davis to take this draw with Crossland, and Sukip to his flanks, won by the Vicks. And another block from Baron Baker as he hobbles towards his bench now. A low shot block this time from Cole Davis. As Davis and Sukic make their way off the ice. Berchinger Brzezinski and Carson Dubois out for this Riel squad now. Imbrono, Dylan Jaquette, and Michael Spence out for the Vicks. Their energy line. Into net scores! An unlucky break for this victorious team. Great puck luck for the Riels. As it deflects off of a body in front, sails over the head of Penner into the back of the net. As for that, a very unlucky break for the St. Vital Junior Victoria side. And hey, as the old saying goes, throw something on net and good things will happen. Well, great things happen there for Lambert. So stands right now, he has the game winner in this one. A lot of time left still. As another goal! Carson Dubois! This time number 19 strikes. It's 2 unanswered for this Riel squad now. 4:28 left on the second period clock. And if I'm this Vicks team, I call a timeout right away. And that's exactly what Tyler Anderson does. Just settle down your troops, especially in a game like this. You don't want to let it slip away from you here late in the second period too. Riel is looking to build that strong momentum they've found late in games heading in to the third period in this series in particular. So I wish I could go back in this stream right now to see how exactly that goal went in. All I know is it's Carson Dubois who's able to put away that puck in front of the net as the Riels broke in fast after that goal. Didn't even feel like they were 15 seconds apart, to be honest with you. But that goal brought to you by Terrico. Serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years in the agricultural industry. Could this be the moment where the Riels truly put this game to bed and continue to build on their lead? Or do the Vicks have some fight left in them? Stay tuned for the rest of this one, as we'll have the answer for you in the next 24 minutes of gameplay with only 4:12 remaining in this period of action. Edwards out there along with Blake Lee and Ezekiel Kirkness. He's rubbed off the puck along the boards. That's up to Van Dynes. Van Dynes circles back now, delays, cross-eyes feed, over to wide open Bucknet, who goes wide of the net on that shot. Looked like he had a wide open blocker side on Penner, held it at the point. Keating goes D2D now. That Bucknet tipped over the net, but still held in by the Riels. That shot heavy off the boards. Rebound there, scores! Another bounce that goes in the favor of the Riels. It's Reef Sukit this time. An impressive release. That rebound came off the back boards. Had some kickback to it. This is Victoria's team. I mean, what else can you really say? 2 unfortunate bounces for you in the span of about a minute or so, which has given this Riels team plenty of life. Another goal brought to you by Terrico. 5-2. This Riels team up. Maybe it's a fourth unanswered now. Davis turned aside. Rebound off the mark for number 27 in Cockrell. Dishes this to Bonin. His shot off the mark as the net goes off. We'll give Ethan Penner some love here, as I can't imagine the feeling from number 29 right now. I mean, he's made some great saves in this one. Points hasn't gotten the help he's needed from his team in his own end in front of him. And yeah, just 2 real unfortunate bounces here in the past 2 of the 3 goals that the Riels have scored to retake the lead. They haven't been truly down in this one since down 1-0 in the first period of action. Brzezinski tries to dangle past Rubini, but shut down well by number 9. That pass off the mark for Rubini, as wasn't quite able to chase that puck down. As it was an attempt to stretch it off the boards from Nechwaduk to Rubini. That winding up to the point for Mike Hepner, who rims this down low onto the stick of Nechwaduk. His stretch pass up to Rubini. Rubini looking for some magic here late in the period. Gets this to Mitchell. Thought someone was with him and Nechwaduk, but Nechwaduk was trailing behind the play still, so that pass from Mitchell off the mark. Unfortunate there for this Victoria's side, as Hepner plays that into the skates of Nechwaduk. Now out, stretched up the boards into the direction of Bertschinger. One-handed, he passes this into the slot as this gets chipped down again by Crossling, keeps it in deep. As this unable to be flipped out, picked up by Suket. Looking for a second unanswered. That off the chrome dome of number 29 in Penner, as he fought to make the save. With a minute 39 remaining now, the Vics get this puck back into their own end. Kiesman head faking before passing this up to Luke Elliott, who chips this in. Redirected past the red line as the Victorias get some fresh legs out. That top line right back out again for this Vic side. So we'll be seeing probably a double shifting from them coming up in this third period of action, as they look to defend here, looking to only keep it a 3-goal deficit. Into the low slot, rebound there off the post for Suket. In tight with a minute 04 remaining in the second period of action. Scored the most recent goal. That time goes off the post. As Mitchell to take this draw. It's number 88 in Cole Davis, won by Mitchell. This is played D to D to Jacquet. Oh, goes off of the roof this time. Was Brady. Probably wishing at this point it was a bit higher, so they don't get an offensive zone face-off or a defensive zone face-off back in their own end. As that draw won by the Riels, Kalen Reynolds Reyes, his shot couldn't get through, as that ended up to Cole Davis, who's turned aside. 50.5 remaining now. His middle frame. The reason why I keep saying that is we're still finding ways to get an actual time clock on our scoreboard. Just haven't found the best way to do that yet. That could be an upgrade coming throughout these playoffs if we figure it out. Of course, I've added on a bunch of features this year. New camera, too. Used to shoot games on an iPad. Long gone are the days of those times. So can't believe we actually used to do that. Not even that long ago either for the Victorias. Nechwaduk late in this period, under 20 seconds left, had that blocked up. It's sent out by this Riel squad. This is picked up by Blake Goretzky. As Blake Goretzky, under 10 left. Now from just inside the red line, sends that in on LaRock, who he'll just kill the time by eating that puck before sending it into the corner for Alex Van Dynes. And with that, MMJHL fans, it could be 20 minutes remaining in the Victoria season, unless they figure it out quickly here. Stunned at the end of that period. As we take a look at how much time passed for all of those goals to be scored. So it'd be Evan Lambert with his first of the playoffs, 15:22 into the period. Carson Dubois 10 seconds later with his first of the playoffs. Lambert with his first of the playoffs as well. And then Reeve Sukut unassisted with his third of the playoffs, 16:26 into the period. So all three goals coming just a minute over apart from each other. And in an elimination game, a must win, that was a nightmare situation for this Victoria's team. Once again, a collapse on the scoreboard. They don't recover it from it this time. It's curtains on their season. So what type of response does Anderson's group have? Ty Anderson's group, that is, again, against Paul Cassis' group in the St. Boniface Riels. Well, we'll find out for the third period of action here live on G-Show Productions' U-Screen channel. 5-2 the Riels after 40 minutes of play. The third seed looks to punch their ticket to a second Final Four in a row as they made it there last year. This time looking to sweep their opponent the first round. Instead of it going to 6 like it did last year against the Twins, they're 20 miles away, aka 20 minutes away from completing that task. Just gotta keep your foot on the gas if you're the Riels, and if you're the Vics, well, talked about they need to find another gear in their game. They need to find about another 10 right now. Come back in this one. Certainly help when their captain clutched up, but they'll need way more. They want to keep their season alive. Coming up here in period number 3, potentially our final period of tonight's MMJHL Playoff Game Day live stream. Remember, $5 pay-per-view fee, 50% goes back to the MMJHL for them to benefit from these live streams as well as G-Show Productions. Thank you for your support, everybody. We can't wait for the third period call. Coming up next, gonna send it to a promo screen, as well as some commercials from Mid-Canton Fasteners and Tools coming up next. This second period was brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years in the agricultural industry. Be sure to check out their website at terrico.ca for more information on them, as well as Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check out and find out why at GordyThompsonGoalies.ca.
Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
I just realized I did not play the Brandon Mid-Canada Fasteners commercial. The Winnipeg Mid-Canada Fasteners commercial was on the screen twice. During that second intermission, as we're back here for the third period of action, the Victorias, it could be the final 20 minutes of action that they play in their mmjhl 2024-2025 season. They're currently down right now to this St. Boniface Riels team, who have just had their number in this postseason series. 5-2, 3 unanswered goals to put St. Boniface on top, all coming over just a minute together combined. And how do you respond if you're the St. Vital Junior Victorias? There's been so many times in this series where they've seemingly collapsed. Goal change. And thankful for the parents in front of me too, as we got a goaltending change too. So Penner's night is over for the Victorias. In the pipes for this period coming up, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, is going to be Merrick Sopko, an AP goaltender. Of course, into the series now, after Mason Tebec got injured in game number 1. He's been the backup ever since, and now in for relief of number 29 in Ethan Penner. Maybe a goaltending change to spark this Victoria's team, needing to find some sort of magic to be able to keep their season alive for a team with players like Tyler Rubini, Rylan Netraduk, Brady Jaquette, also players like Alessandro Imbrogno, potentially in their last game of the season, as they're all 03-born players. I think we can expect to see a lot of Rubini's line throughout this period. Michael Spence, also an 03-born player. And on the back end for the Victorias, Evan Philippe, also an 03-born player. So those would be the 6 players that would be aging out of this VIX program, out of this league. This is controlled by the Victorias. Now passed up to Gilson, but offside on the play. As thank you to everyone who has chosen G-Show Productions, gshow.ca. On the G-Show Productions U-Screen page, we're paying $5 for this game. Of course, 50% of the profits go back to the mmjhl. So the league will use the money to help benefit the league as well as their teams. So your donation of $5 to watch this game, it's not a donation, but your purchase of $5 to watch this game, not just going to G-Show Productions, but to the league itself, which we're happy to be able to give back to the mmjhl league that, has helped us grow quite a bit here as a company in our 2 years. We're just getting started. The Riels Starting with the 3-0 series lead here, up 5-2 in game number 4 to potentially become the first team to make it into the Final Four series. Still a lot of work to be done, though, so they got to close out this victorious team. Gilson tries to get to that puck. Instead, it's onto Rubeny's stick in the corner. He gets knocked off it, as is Dylan Bachnet making his way up ice. Bachnet, nice rush in. That pass to Van Dyne scores! Beautiful feed, beautiful finish. It's number 94 and Alex Van Dynes, who puts his Riels up by 4 now. Goal brought to you by Make-Ken Fasteners and Tools. That starts off of what Bachneck's able to do on the rush in. Van Dynes heads to the slot and somehow Bachnet feeds that pass through to Van Dynes, a nice redirection into the back of the net, a quick one-timer. Not even sure how he got that shot off the position he was in. He got it off nonetheless into an open net pass, Sobkow. As that goal brought to you by Make-Ken Fasteners and Tools. The mountain even steeper for this Vix team now as Philippe shot in and turned aside by Larocque. And as for the Vix, what's been a struggle for them in this series is just being able to have consistent offensive zone time sustained and shots as well. They only had 7 shots in the first period of action. 4 shots in period number 2 where they had a goal. So it's not like the Vix haven't been able to capitalize on their chances. It's just the volume they've gotten nowhere near enough compared to what this Riels team has had. St. Boniface, 39 shots heading into this period. They put up over 40 in all of their games so far in this Elite 8 round. Huge hit by Lambert, standing up to number 16 and Dylan Jaquette as Jaquette gives him a whack back on the way out of the zone. Michael Spence now makes his way in. The 03-born player tries to send that towards the net, but denied by the Riels defense. Lambert skating well, circles back, dishes this off to Bonin as Bonin stretches this up off the stick of Dominico all the way out. There's no icing called on the play for this Riels squad. As Blake Goretzky moves his way up. Now that off the skate of Mitchell, down all the way into the Riels zone below the goal line for Blake Lee, rubbed off the puck by Nick Miller. As Keating has it on his stick, gets this off to Davis, threads this through to Dubois, as Dubois makes his way up the ice, dishes this out to Cockrell. He unloads his shot, turned aside by Sobkow, and taken away by Brady Jaquette, as Jaquette makes his way into the Riels end. That's stripped away by Keating, taken away by Dubois, that off the stick of Davis, all the way down to the Riels end now, or the Vix end for the Riels. As that into the skate of Brzezinski tries to catch up to that loose puck, but instead it's Wilson who sends it out of the Vix end. Wilson with it back on his stick, flips this into the neutral zone, off the boards, as Gilson gets to this first, rubs off of Reyes to keep possession of it. Now D to Kiesman, he unloads a shot blocker to side by Larocque, as Reyes over to Davis, Cole Davis that is, back down low for Hepner as Hepner has that knocked off his stick. Down low in the Riels end, Hepner gets it back, now into his feet that pass goes, he takes it off of his skate, pressuring was Netraduke, but Hepner, nice job to get this out, skated out strong before sending it to a teammate who sent it in deep for this Riels squad. As Kiesman along the boards, along with Gilson in to help for number 7. As Kiesman gets this back, rims it around for Netraduke, who catches up to this puck first. Off the boards, almost to Rubeny. Rubeny has it cut off. Brzezinski ends up finding a D-man, and Hepner stretches this up to Van Dynes, who deflects this in. But tries to get on this puck first. Robs out Wilson along the boards. Sits to Imbrogno. Now back to Wilson, who goes off the boards to Luke Elliott with 14:38 remaining. Elliott sends this in deep past the goal line. Imbrogno now lays a hit on a Riel in the corner. No call on the play. Why would there be? This is playoff hockey, of course. You'll have to see that from Imbrogno finishing his check. But in terms of Imbrogno's time left in the MMJHL, it's running out here. 14:26 left in the careers of the 03-born players here for this Victoria's team. Is something gonna give? Something's gotta give for them here. As dangling his way in, Kobe Edwards, the young gun, trying to make some magic happen. He gets taken out along the boards with that stick. Getting a stick-on-stick to take that puck away, as I should say. As Baron Baker back up to Imbrogno now, as Imbrogno flips this in with a backhand, but cut off right away by Boknek. Gets it right back, D-to-D from Noah Keating, up that off the stick. Bertschinger in all the way in, as Victoria's possess this and send this all the way back down into the Riels end. Lambert now is stretch pass, a bit off the mark for Dubois as he tried to redirect that in as Kirkness had Spence wide open, but that being disrupted on the way through. Good defense continuing here from the Riels, not only in their own end, but just upon entry for the Vic, shutting everything down. As Brzezinski makes his way in, his pass towards the net, trying to locate Davis, but couldn't locate number 96's stick. So with 13:13 remaining, 6-2 the score in favor of the Riels. Van Dynes with the only goal out of both teams in this period is Bonin from the point. His shot, a hard one, just catches a piece of Sobkow's blocker. Sets to Nicholas Miller. Miller misses Davis with that intended pass at the blue line. It was just behind the red line. Goes down for an icing. On this Thursday night from the Centennial in St. Vital, Blake Lee out with Dario Machia and Connor Mitchell. Lee lost the draw. Lambert flips this out. So it doesn't seem like someone grabbed their 50-50 win-ins here tonight yet, which has already happened at St. Vital earlier this year. In fact, it feels like just a few months ago at this point, maybe even shorter than that. Time flies, MMJHL fans, especially when you're covering a whole hockey season. Can't believe we're already in the playoffs, to be honest with you. So we're already getting into the Game 4s here of the Elite 8 round in the MMJHL. Sure to catch all the action here during the postseason. You're home for MMJHL Hockey on G-Show Productions Uscreen channel. All of our games will be pay-per-view. As the Riels have offered their fans a lot of value for what they've paid for to tune into this stream in the 2 games so far. Reyes' shot turned aside, rebound there. Unable to get it was Van Dynes. Was still mid-air off of that save from Sobkow. Sobko, where's number 1 for this Victoria's team. Van Dynes looked like he tried to flip that over the crossbar into the slot for a teammate, but was unable to. Netraduke tries to chip this pass now, but shut down by number 44 in Reyes, as this sent in strongly by number 94 in Van Dynes. Reyes holds strong just inside of the Vic's blue line to get this in deep. As the Riels continue pressure at the Vic's blue line with success. That now off of the dome of number 12 and Luke Elliott. Victoria is trying to work this up to Elliott, but Kiesman, how's that taken away? Nice dangle by Johnson, denied by Sobko. Another potential save by Sobko, but that goes wide of the net. Number 1, impressive here in relief for Penner, besides, of course, that one goal he gave up. A tough shot for him to stop. As Rubini sends this in deep now. He circles back to his bench for a change. Not sure how many more shifts we'll see out of this top line. I'd have to guess a lot, especially in the last half of this period. The Vics are going to throw everything. They're hoping, including the kitchen sink, at this Riels squad. As this rimmed around hard enough off of the stick of a Victoria onto Connor Davis's stick. One-timer feed to Bertschinger. Nice save by Sopkow. As back-to-back huge saves from number 1. A glorious chance there from Bertschinger. Nice setup from Davis, Connor Davis leading the playoffs in assists heading into tonight. This through both Vic's defensemen, unable to be held in at the blue line. As the Vics work it up again, it's Kirkness. Has Lee going towards the net. Kirkness fires that off of a pad of LaRocque. Turned it into the corner. So Victoria's back on it again. In that very same corner where that rebound went into. Blake Lee kicks it up to himself. Trying to muscle his way down along the boards past Lambert. Gets this puck free to Kirkness as Kirkness holds this along the boards. Blake Lee able to get a loose puck. Drags to the right face-off circle now as that fired just wide of the net. Nice chance from number 18. But all for naught. As under 10 minutes remain now in this period. Goretzky making his way in. Dishes this to a teammate in Machia, whose pass can't get through to the slot. Machia back on it. Leaves it deep in the direction of Kirkness. But Ariel first one on it. And number 89 in Brzezinski. That attempt out. Blocked up into the body of Machia now. Now Kirkness coming in to lay the boom on number 2. And Lambert. Riels fans felt that was a slash too. But not called. Onto the stick of Bertschinger now as he gets loose into the Vic zone. That shot off the glove of Sopkow. Off the boards all the way out. Back into the Riels end. As time continues to wind down here. Nice interception by Netraduk just outside the blue line to Mitchell. Netraduk tries to go backdoor for Edwards, but that pass misses. In the Riels slot, Netraduk into the slot again that time. Edwards fanning on that one-timer as it ends up out of play. Not off of any Vic sticks, so this will remain in the Riels end. Finally a bit of puck luck here for this Victoria's team. So the puck luck has favored the Riels in this series. Just something about the bounces for certain teams against each other in the playoffs. Against a Riels team that, of course, struggled in their first few games of the year against the Vics in the regular season series, but then started to find ways to win against them and extinguish much of an offensive attack in these playoffs throughout the series for this Victoria's squad as it's taken away just inside of the Riels end. Cockrell flips this on the Vic's net inside the Vic zone, goes off for a change. 7:40 remains. Carson Dubois cuts that off. Puck held in, goes across to a teammate. I think it's Dominico sends that on net, but not through. Blocked up by Kiesman. As Dominico over to Crossland, just outside of the reach of number 55. Gets us to the slot off a stick. Now to Buckner at the point is, wow, he sends that way wide. And Dubois showing off his hops, trying to glove that down. Instead it ends up out of play. As offensive zone face-off draw coming up for the Riels. 7:11 now left on the clock. That's past number 77. All the way down Rubini, first one on it. Gets position on number 18 and Keaton, but has that taken away off the back pressure by Brzezinski, who was to dangle his way through, taken out as he tried to make his way past the Vic's defense. No call on the play. Referee's letting him play here. Jaquette took it to the middle, just behind that ringette line in the slot, but had it knocked off of his stick. Now stretched up to Cole Davis, looking for a second of the game. Sopkow just keeps it out with a clutch glove save. Wishing he would have squeezed that one, I'm sure. Quickly up again, the Victorias. Baron Baker cut off in the slot by Lambert as he spins away from the check-in. Elliott forces a turnover down low, but the Riels get it right back off the glass and out. Of the Riels, and the Victorias right back in. It's Goretzky dangling his way through on the backhand. His shot turned aside by Larocque. Cut down that angle really well as the Riels flip it out again. Baron Baker able to get to it first. Him doing that allows for no chance of icing on the play, so the Victorias have to break out from their own end again. Not quite from 200 feet. From inside their own blue line. Now into the neutral zone. Kirkness there with Spence. Spence gets it back. The Baker goes D-to-D. Now Goretzky fires up to Spence. Spence trying to make his way towards the net. Leaves this for Kirkness. That shot deflected on the way through but denied by Larocque. Better chances as this game has gone along for sure out of the low volume that this Vicks team has had. Just not getting the bounces as this eaten up along the boards. About 3 Riels in that corner. 3 Vicks as well as the Riels finally do get it back. As played up, Nicholas Miller connects with Cockerell as Cockerell stops up. Trying to dangle his way past Philippe. Does just that but gets taken out by Jaquette. Philippe with the stick on his, or the puck on his stick now as I should say. Said that in reverse order. As heavy collision down low in the Riels end. This held in by the Vicks. Philippe, his shot scores! But maybe too little too late for this Vicks team, but never say never. 4:43 remaining. Philippe, in his potential final game in a Vicks jersey, leaves his mark in the offensive zone. Nice shot through traffic. Able to make its way past Larocque. Mark Tereszchuk, given his defenseman pat on the helmet, proud of him, I'm sure. That goal brought to you by Make Hand Fasteners and Tools, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. The Vicks, do they have a bit of life? Or will the Riels squeeze it out of them here in these next 4 minutes and 30 seconds? Bertschinger sauces this across Brzezinski. That shot wide of the net, 89, so close to regaining that 4-goal lead. Of course, the Riels held a 3-goal lead heading into this period. Netraduk trying to make some magic happen, but can't dangle his way past Brzezinski. Nice back pressure again from 89. So onto the stick, Alessandro Ambrodno cut off along the Vicks bench. It's sent in right again by the Riels. 3:58 remaining now. Kiesman taking a risk by skating up through the middle in his own end. Circles back, gets it to Jaquette. Jaquette dishes this back off to Kiesman. As Kiesman through the middle to Mitchell. Mitchell chips it past and tries to make his way past the Riels defense, but shut down there by Keaton. A great stick. That shot from a sharp angle blocked up by the Riels. As Brzezinski now getting the speed. No, it's Domenico instead. Domenico turned aside with that glove. Play remains to continue here as Sobkow left it for the Vicks. They could have taken advantage of that, as I think the Riels thought maybe number 1 was going to cover it up. It's flipped up past to number 19 and Spence, waving the icing off as well. Gets it to Philippe, who steps up from that point position. Philippe denied by that right pad this time by Larocque. Netraduk down low, trying to strip this away from Keating, but strong play from 18 to hold off the check-in from number 11. 2:50 remains in this third period now. Netraduk, Rubini, could it be their final shifts as Victorias? Make it a good one, fellas. It potentially is. That stretched up to Davis, trying to split through the D, instead denied. The last moment by Baron Baker. As to Netraduk, cross-ice feed to Rubini, surveying his options, drops it back to Ambrodno, who got lined up for a hit there by Davis. Got a block instead as this ends up out of play. The captain fearless for this St. Boniface Riels team. Ambrodno still having words for him. It's kind of ironic because Imbrogno would have done the same thing given the opportunity to Davis. As the captain continues to chirp Imbrogno. As this draw won by the Riels, but not able to be flipped out. Netraduke has that knocked off his stick. 2:18 remaining. Vic's really got to push, but the Riels not making it easy on them. Continuing to get into lanes and blocking passes and shots and stripping away pucks. This sent in deep by Cole Davis. Lags into the corner, allows for Goretzky to spin away. Stretch pass up, Netraduke. Ends up having that sticked away again. Attention to detail keen on him right now, but he has some space. Rips this just wide of the net for number 11 with 1:46 remaining. This top duo still out for the Vics. So if they're gonna change anytime soon, it'll be interesting. Now they do as Rubini goes off. Netraduke goes off for a change as well with 1:28 remaining. It could be the final time we see number 11 and number 9 out on ice, and Netraduke and Rubini, which it's been a treat to watch these two throughout the past 2 seasons in the MMJHL. The start Rubini had to his season this year looked like he was on pace for, one of the great seasons we've seen in a while. As we're into the final minute of play here, as Nicholas Miller taken out huge there by Victoria. We bring Mick Hand Fasters and Tools on screen for the final time in this game. That shot turned aside, Jaquette. Rubini now his long shot from long range turned aside again. Another one from Jaquette, just gloved down by Larocque. With 36.2 remaining, Netraduke proved to be maybe the most important player. I'd say the most important player for the Victorias this season. Way different team when he's been in the lineup. And this Vic's team was fully healthy heading into the playoffs. And we're feeling great after game 1, or for most of game 1, as they're up 4-0. But that collapse they ended up having, I think, set the pace, set the tone for this series for the Riels, and they just haven't looked back. They've been able to grab momentum in every single one of these games, scored many unanswered goals against the Vics. Last game it was 7. This game it was 4. 3 big ones to end off the period. Is that going to be an empty net goal for Larocque as he tried to get a goalie goal? What a moment that could have been for number 33. So I'm not sure if there's ever been a goalie goal in the MM. I'm sure there has been, but not recently. Would have been a just unreal way for the Riels to finish off a sweep. Which, yeah, they grabbed momentum, didn't really give it back against the Vics. The Vics just could not find much success, much volume at all, as the series went along in the offensive zone. As good on Ty Anderson and this coaching staff. All 03s out on the ice for the Vics. As it's a moment which Saint Vital never wanted to come in this season, as they had championship aspirations from the start, but they will bow out in the first round. As congratulations to the St. Boniface Riels on making it back to the Final Four, trying to make it back to the finals for the first time since 2014-15, where they won their only championship in franchise history. A lot of work left to be done, but in terms of setting the tone and setting the pace for yourselves in the postseason, what better way to do it than with a sweep? Now in pro hockey specifically, a sweep doesn't always guarantee you success in the next round, so St. Boniface has to try to find a way to stay in, well, maybe not rhythm game-wise, but mentally. You got to stay locked in here. You got to keep up that intensity in your mindset heading into the next round, where you could either play the Charleswood Hawks, you could play the Rayler Express, you'd play not the lowest seed remaining, as that would be the top seed to advance through. They'd face off against, well, we'll pull up the bracket in just a moment as we see both sides shaking hands. It's for the Vics. What's next for this franchise? Losing a key group of players, a lot of them big time throughout their run to the finals 2 years ago. And they were never able to win another playoff round after that year. Of course, lost in 7 games last year to the Charleswood Hawks. And bowing out this year in a sweep in the first round. Before we get into the final thoughts on this game and players of the game, I just want to say congratulations to Tyler Rubini, Rylan Netraduke, Alessandro Imbrogno, Michael Spence, Evan Philippe, and Brady Jaquette on their careers in the MMJHL, leaving their mark on this franchise for sure, especially Rubini and Netraduke. St. Vital may be hard-pressed to find a duo like that again for a long time, but you never know with the talent coming up in St. Vital. A lot of great talent in this area. It's all about rebuilding or I guess retooling and what could be in store next year. Well, yeah, the whole offseason to figure out as the Vics waving so long to their fans, the Riels celebrating with photo there from Scott Stroh of Icewave Media. Check out their social media on Icewave Media after this game, shortly after, as they'll be posting pictures from this game either tonight or maybe even tomorrow, as it is late here, 9:28 now. So we're going to get into the players of the game now. Brought to you by, well, for the Vics, McKen Fasteners and Tools on the losing side of things. Yeah, in terms of their players of the game, taking a look at it, I think, for me, player of the game tonight, hey, for old time's sake, we're going to give it to the captain and Tyler Rubini. Rubini with a goal in this game. Felt like he gave the Vics life, but unfortunately the 3 unanswered goals coming afterwards led to disaster for the Vics. But thought that Rubini was making things happen all game long. Of course, struggled at points to make things happen because the Riels just keyed in on that Vics top duo so hard as this series went along, especially as this game went along. But Rubini with a goal tonight in his final game ever as a Victoria. Only his second goal of the postseason, too. But, hey, it was a treat to watch, number 9, and one of my favorite players personally to watch in this league. Sad to see him go, but he gets player of the game here tonight in this Game 4 loss for the Victorias. As for the Game 4 player of the game for the winning side in the St. Boniface Riels, for me, in terms of who should get player of the game, so many players played well in tonight's game, but you know who played, I thought, a really sound game in his defensive zone, was making things happen off the rush. Didn't have the most points tonight, but had an assist in his return back to the lineup. Created that last goal beautifully to Alex Van Dynes. Player of the game goes to Dylan Bachneck. I thought that, yeah, he just continues to grow here as a player in this league. One of the best defensemen on a stacked St. Boniface D-core, and was getting quite a few minutes in this one. Very rarely made a mistake, as I should say. And yeah, created that second goal of the game, or that 6th goal of the game that ended up being the final goal of the game for the Riels. As player of the game brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for the St. Boniface Riels, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Be sure to check them out at 995 Milt-Steagall Drive, as well as checking out their website at cancentralsportscards.com as well. Well, the final thoughts on this one, MMJHL fans, as we pull up the playoff bracket right now. My prediction for this series was the Riels to win. I had them winning in 6 games. I did not think this one was going to be a sweep, but it just proves to show you, no matter how talented you are, if you're the St. Vital Junior Victorias from their perspective, it's just too many times they collapse throughout this series. You know, I think the D-zone for them these past 2 seasons has been an area where they struggled, and I think as the series went along, especially in this game tonight, they kind of got exposed in that area at points. Bad bounces, of course, towards them, but just couldn't handle the strong attack that the Riels put up game in and game out as the games rolled along. I thought that Penner, unfortunate for him tonight to go out in the season the way he did, felt like he could have had more help. He needed more help in front of him. And that was one of the difference moving forward in this game and throughout this series, as the Riels were just so locked in their defensive zone, played with so much pressure, and the Vics just unfortunately couldn't find that next year or two or even 3 to kick it into to cancel out the attack that the Riels had. The Riels, though, proven to themselves that they can score in bunches and can score big in this postseason series in the opening round as they send themselves into the next round with some great vibes. Gotta stay vigilant, though. Gotta stay ready, as their next opponent gonna be really tough no matter who it is. Will it be the Hawks? Will it be the Transcona Railer Express? Or will it be somebody else? Well, we'll find out coming up in, I think, at least in a week for sure, as the Elite 8 round rolls on in the mmjhl playoffs. These are the games for Sunday. These are the games for tomorrow, as 3 series will be in action. Only 3 series in action on Sunday now, maybe 2, depending on if Fort Garry finishes it off tomorrow against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. We'll have that game tomorrow, by the way, Raiders and Twins, as Fort Garry looks to make it to the second round, the Final Four, for the first time since 2012, 2013. Been over a decade since they've done so. How will the Raiders respond tomorrow? They're hoping to respond better than this victorious team did at the end of it, as they had the lead to start off. But once again, the Riels coming back in this one, scoring a bunch of unanswered goals, 3 in that second period to really make the difference. All coming over a minute apart, 3 combined, which is insane. I wonder if that's some sort of record, but the Riels stunning the Vics in this first round series, sweeping them and sending them home the off-season early here. As the Elite 8 round continues tomorrow in the mmjhl, for us here at G-Show Productions on Uscreen, I've been your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. Thank you to my camera operator and Marty Boulanger for helping out tonight as well. For all of us at G-Show Productions, we thank you for watching. Thank you for spending $5 and watching this mmjhl playoff game day live stream, everybody, as well as thank you to our sponsors in Terrico Goaltenders and Mid-Canton Fasteners and Tools, as well as Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, for continuing to support mmjhl playoff hockey coverage here on your home for mmjhl hockey on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. The Riels, they await now for their next opponent in the Final Four. 6-3 they win, on to a second consecutive Final Four appearance. This time, didn't take 6 games for them, instead a sweep. Will their momentum continue into the Final Four? Tune in here at that time on G-Show Productions on Uscreen to find out. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching and choosing G-Show Productions.